Hi everybody, in this video I have another interesting video for you about Monster Hunter Wilds regarding the visual graphics. So what you see here is me playing on the PC, and if I'm gonna kind of summarize it, my experience in general, when I played it on the highest graphics settings on Ultra, it looks stunning. It's really a beautiful game. So today I came across actually an interesting comment by a viewer that mentioned this. The environment somehow looks worse than Rise on PC. Now, for me it's pretty fresh because I haven't played any previous installments of any Monster Hunter games before, so I actually downloaded the demo in order to check it out. However, as a baseline, just so you know, that I was able on my 3070 Ti in Full HD to play this game on ultra settings with FSR with more than 60 or more FPS because this display is super smooth, and I really like the results overall. Now, there were of course issues. One of them, actually can see here, one person actually mentioned that when he saw the video. You can see here, look at the monsters there. Looks like kind of like a technique to reduce the numbers of polygons for the monsters when maybe they are far away. Kind of similar to what you have with Nanite, for example, in Unreal Engine 5. Although this is running on a proprietary engine, Re-Engine, and this is why it looks like that. And it's kind of a bug, probably. Terrible. So yes, overall, when I played on PC, I was very satisfied with the results. Overall, I'm saying, right? There are issues, of course, but overall, it was a beautiful game. The environments, even the one that is less detailed compared to others, like the desert, because, the quality of the textures were high. You can actually see all these fine details on the ground, the sands, the dunes, and it was just beautiful. So even that environment was actually looking really nice. Same goes to the lighting, the shadows. Look how realistic actually this monster look. Yeah, so based on that, and you can see it for yourself, and of course I tried it in other sections. It's just a beautiful, stunning game played here on PC, the beta version. We can't deny it just looks beautiful, right? I mean, look at that. It's a beautiful game. I actually found ways to further optimize it if I wanted to and still maintain very high quality graphics. You can check out my channel, my video. I really wanted baseline, so if I want to improve it later on, when some more plus playing, more monsters, maybe if it drops, I can have a good baseline, but still the game looks good and also runs at high frame rates. And in general, I recommend if you suffer from issues with this game in terms of frame rates, frame generation really helps you a lot. So again, you can of course use it with the FSR free. I'm using NVIDIA card 3070 Ti. I still can use it because it's open source. And if you're rocking NVIDIA 40 series, you also have frame generation, which is not available for me, just the upscaler. It wasn't enough. I mean, not running on ultra and high if I wanted high frame rates. Alright, so let's move on to Monster Hunter Rise just to understand the differences. And again, the game was released in 2021. For the Nintendo Switch, and then slightly later on was ported for Windows, and then other ports in January 2022 for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and Xbox Series X and S in 2023. And expansion pack Sunbreak that was released in June 2022. Now, I knew that, again, if it was targeting a Nintendo Switch at first, definitely it's going to be a game that will have quite a lot of compromises. But the thing is that, what are these compromises and how the game actually looks? Does it look really better compared to what I played, for example, on PC? When it comes to Monster Hunter Wilds look less compared to this game for some reason? Well, let's take a look. First of all, I just want to mention that again, we can clearly see that the game is on the lower end side, even the highest settings, in all the things regarding the resolution of the 3D models, the textures. But we're going to talk about that in a moment. Also, again, textures also mean that it's kind of flat, as you can see. There's no kind of bump mapping or anything. You can see also when it comes to atmospheric effects, you can't really compare it compared to something that has more volumetric effect like lightning and fog effects that are volumetric, things that actually affect performance. So let's say it like that. When you look, for example, at the ground, you can see high quality textures, but again, these are textures. You can't see like any, again, as I mentioned, like pipe mapping, something that increases the geometry of the ground, that makes it more detailed in that aspect in terms of geometry. It's just more or less kind of a flat, low poly. Both the ground, by the way, and other objects are low resolution, less basically polygons. And if you look at plants, for example, in different angles, you can actually see they just swoop, disappear. You can't see them, just kind of like a 1 pixel plane. And you know, I just can't see the bush anymore, but if I turn it around, I can see it. Some techniques, of course, we use in much older games in the past. Yeah, because of course back then we didn't have very powerful hardware, but it still looks it's still used today to create games that focus on try to appeal to a large audience with especially when running on low-end hardware. Yeah. Also other effects like water and all the things look, of course, from far you don't really pay attention to it. But when you get close, you can actually see the effect. And same goes here. When you turn around, things try to disappear. You don't pay attention to it again when you move, but you can see everything is kind of basically low quality. But as a whole, when you look at it, especially if you're kind of moving, you don't really notice it that much. Having said it, it's important to know that I can clearly see that where they actually did invest in is the monsters. Their movement, their animation, they feel like they have weight, that it's a big difference compared to the environment. And this is true, by the way, to also Monster Hunter Wilds. You can clearly see that they really invested in making sure that the creatures feel very, very organic. So even in this game, there are lots of compromises all around, but when it comes to the monsters, they look really nice. Now, when it comes to textures, it's kind of a mix, but you can definitely see they use high-resolution textures, although everything is kind of flat in most part and low poly. The textures are high-resolution textures, which eventually lead to everything just look very, very detailed all around you, and without interpolation, so it just looks super, super sharp. That's why everything looks so detailed, and they were able to put even more of things into environment like trees and everything, and of course you can see that they are actually flat, but when you move through the environment you don't actually pay attention to it. It just look kind of very detailed and beautiful world, generally speaking. It's only when you get very close and kind of pay attention to it you can see the tricks, right? But overall looks really nice. Look at there here. By the way, in the water, when you see, for example, the movement, you can see the texture moving. But again, if you don't really stop and pay attention to it, it looks like, it's kind of, there's movement and it's beautiful and it's very detailed. It looks nice. And not just that, everything just runs super, super smooth. And I guess not just for me, of course, because I'm running on 3070 Ti, but for other players who are playing on lower end, and of course, either on the Nintendo Switch, for example, and lower end specs, it will just run just fine. Look at this monster, for example, how well it's designed, beautiful. This is where they actually invested very well in terms of the animation, in terms of the detail, higher low poly count, of course. By the way, I definitely prefer the UI for this game. It was much easier for me to understand what to do when I actually click things. It was actually, I really like the way the UI is presented here in terms of being a new player to the game. Nonetheless, you can see there are lacking of other atmospheric effects like maybe fog, volumetric lighting, all of that. It looks pretty flat, so it's not really immersive compared to when you play, for example, Monster Hunter Wilds on the PlayStation 5. Now, the comment that was written there is in context of the PlayStation 5 footage and my impression that I shared. But look at it here. This is Monster Hunter Wilds running, for example, on PC. By the way, you can actually see this, and of course, it's going to be the same in terms of general look when it comes to the PlayStation 5. But you can see all the atmospheric effects, the fog. Here, of course, you have plants that are not going to disappear on you. I mean, if you look them from the sides, monsters still look amazing in this game, by the way, and also look great, by the way, in Rise as well. But you can see all the visual effects and the atmosphere. It's just something completely in another level. This just feels fully next gen compared to the previous one. This is on Ultra now, running with FSR on PC. Now this is on the high with FSR. I actually changed to DLSS, and these suffer from frame rate issues. This is because DLSS on the 30 series NVIDIA doesn't have frame generation, so you can see there's going to be a difference. So this is why FSR for me was a better choice, because I can play on Ultra on higher graphics setting and get very smooth frame rates, and it's very noticeable. basically the frame generation just inserts generated AI generated frames in between the regular frames and basically increases like that the frame rates, and it looks very impressive overall. But aside from that, everything just look stunning for me in most part. There are issues, of course, here and there, but no doubt. But overall, if I look at the overall, the way it played for me in terms of frame rates, the visuals, it looks beautiful. And monsters look amazing. The lighting is crazy. It looks beautiful both at night and daylight. You can see there sometimes, you know, with a low resolution popping sometimes here and there. And when you use FSR, it's not really just perfect, like, you know, like you do it without. But still, the compromise this is something that I don't mind, because again, the results are very impressive. But even playing something like Monster Hunter Rise on PC, it felt very comforting to the eye. It still felt really nice, especially then it just works so smooth. And of course, there are lots of compromises here when it comes to visual fidelity. It's still something that, to my eyes, it was beautiful. Always, if you compare two things right, you know, near each other, you're going to see a big difference. But definitely, I can definitely understand why people might find it really a beautiful game overall. But come on, looking at the PC, and again, at high settings, the highest settings, or high and ultra, it's just crazy, crazy immersive. Alright, now let's move to the PlayStation 5. So when it comes to the PlayStation 5 results, well, compared to the PC, it looked for me much worse. And now it depends if you play a resolution priority or you frame the frame rate, or you play the frame rate priority. Resolution priority looks okay, still not great, but definitely I want to play this game at higher frame rates. It just felt so much better. Although the frame rate actually had so many issues. Now, actually, the frame rate actually look, and it's not a compliment, like silky smooth. In certain situations, and other ones just look sometimes pixelated and jaggy, and some artifacts that just led to, you know, just impair immersion overall, and you cannot ignore it. Now still, I enjoy playing in frame rate because again, it plays well, and overall, again, especially in some areas, especially in daylight, by the way, you can see high contrast, you know, everything on the monster and the environment, it looks actually really nice. But there are situations which just look terrible. Now, because there is motion, sometimes the imperfections, you won't pay attention to them that much. But this is something that I told myself, well, it just doesn't look good. I don't want to see this mushiness in front of me. But again, this particular area was actually look really nice. But that same area at night, by the way, looked kind of smooth and low contrast and dull. And I didn't like the result of it, by the way. Something there just felt off for me. Even, for example, when I look at details like on the ground, for example, even on resolution, it didn't feel like great, let alone, of course, playing on frame rate. Now, the problem with that, for example, if you see the ground kind of a bit blurry and you see other details maybe a bit sharp, it can create like it seems like there are two separate layers. So I don't know how to optimize it, but definitely it's something just didn't connect well. You want something cohesive. So when you see something like in Monster Hunter Rise, for example, everything is kind of blend together well because it's kind of more or less the same when it comes to details, right? Here it just felt that some things are a bit off, blurry, other are sharp. It just didn't connect well together. And when I choose to go with frame rates, for example, what you see here, you can see the environment. It's going to look blurry, mushy, and it just doesn't look good. And then my character with the lack of aliasing and some of the artifacts against the environment looks like two separate layers. I mean, it's pretty visible here. You're gonna see it throughout, by the way. For example, in the bushes that you soon see, and I can see it there in front of me. Just kind of so many artifacts. Look at that. It's just crazy. It's like it creates so many artifacts in those details. And you can see it's a kind of a bloody mess playing on frame rate. Just look bad. You can see, look on the left. It's just unbelievable. It's just kind of animated. The artifacts kind of dancing. Like anyway, it looks pretty bad, and this definitely impaired the immersion overall. So when you go back to Monster Hunter Rise on PC, I can definitely understand why people really like the way it looks. Because it looks very, very sharp. It plays, of course, very smooth. There aren't really kind of extreme compromise. And for example, if you want the game to look very good, but then you suffer from frame rate issues and impair the gameplay experience, if you want to go with high frame rates, you're going to pay a price for the visual, which are quite significant to be seen in the beta. Although I heard from third-party website mentioning that allegedly this is improved, so we're actually playing an older version. So hopefully it will be the case. And even with all the compromises that you see here, there's kind of eventually when you look at it globally, when you play, you don't pay attention to a lot of these things, and basically you get a game that looks very sharp with details, rich in details, and it works very, very smooth. This is without doing any interpolation or anything, just as sharp as it gets. But even then, with current technology, it still look nice. It would look nice because it does high compromises in the resolution of the 3D models, less polygons basically. The reason it's not that visible, because again, a bit tricky, because we have so much detail when you see it, when you see the texture, it gives the effect like the 3D model itself is very detailed. And when you play a game like that, we are mostly on the move, you pay less attention to it. So, it's kind of trickery in a way, but, the results are quite impressive. So which one you prefer? Let's say that's what we have right now. Which one you prefer? Something like Monster Hunter Rise that looks like that. PlayStation 5 with some compromises either on details in the world or frame rate. So again, everybody will have their own opinion. Some will prefer maybe this one, but improved hopefully, but other will prefer maybe something for like Rise, when you have really super fast frame rates and you have lots of compromises when it comes to video fidelity. It depends, of course, on the hardware that you have and your preferences. But there's no doubt that on PC it just looks the best based on the beta. And of course, there are issues. I mentioned a few of them. And some people, of course, there's no denial that some people are experiencing performance issues. But no doubt that based on the beta, the PC, if you have a good hardware that can support running this game in both high quality and high frame rates, you're going to get a significantly better experience. So if you ask me if I would prefer something like Rise, for example, compared to what I played on the frame rate on the PlayStation 5 or Wilds, I would probably say I'm going to go with the PlayStation 5 frame rate. But I can definitely understand why people mention that when it comes to Rise, and some people might prefer that. Let me know in the comment section below your thoughts. Thanks for watching.